What's up, team, and welcome back to another episode of the Sunday Stock Show here with Lucas. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my top 3 picks for this week. I'll also mention an industry that I want you guys to keep an eye out for if you guys haven't already noticed the big increases in prices in that industry. And as well as we have another big earnings week coming along this week. So as you guys could take a look here at all of the big companies that we have, there is one that statistically does very poorly during earnings and has a tendency to pull back on earnings day. So make sure to watch the whole video so you guys know what I'm talking about. All right, guys. And as always, do your due diligence, and this video is for entertainment purposes only, and it's sci-fi time. So let's get into this. All right, guys. So the first thing that I do want to mention is that earnings play that I was talking about, right? So that earnings play is going to be Home Depot. Home Depot statistically has a very big chance of pulling back. Although sometimes they do have good earnings, they do have a tendency of pulling back. I think based on their last 12 earnings or so, they always have pulled back about 2%, 2 to 3%. And their last earnings play, we did a puts on that and we did great. So as always, I do still suggest you guys do some research on your own and don't go only based off of what I'm saying here, but obviously do some research, look at how their revenue, how their sales were, what their EPS is expected to be, and see if they have any negative news that's going to come with that, as always. But if we go take a look quickly at their chart, they have been booming over the past couple of weeks, right? Obviously, Home Depot is a staple company. It's a company that's been very bullish, especially during this pandemic time period. There's also been a big shortage of wood throughout the pandemic, so Home Depot has thrived. Prices of wood have gone up, so they're able to capitalize off of that as well. But especially over the past couple of weeks, right? If we just look at the month of October, how much it's run up, coming here from about $340 a share all the way up to about $372. So now we do see a bit of a consolidation here at this 372 level mark. It's got a pretty strong resistance at about 375, continues to touch that 375 and pull back. But what I'm doing is I'm going to be basing my play, at least, off of the statistics that it's had in the past. So it does have a tendency to always pull back on its earnings. As we could see here, it always does drop. Although the earnings are good, it still does have a tendency of pulling back. So especially because it is at a very overbought level right now, and based off those statistics, I am going to be playing this downwards. So either you can be looking at puts, or you could try to short the stock if you also want. And I'll be trying to capitalize off a downwards movement on Home Depot. But for those of you guys in our Discord, you guys will have more information upon that. Now, moving into the actual stocks that I want to keep an eye out for. Just before we get into that, I want you guys to keep an eye out for the EV industry as a whole, whether it's the actual EV car manufacturers or charging stations, right? They've all been doing really well. So if we go and take a look at Blink just had a huge day, right? They did have earnings. A lot of the EV industries did have earnings over the past 2 weeks or so. So definitely that is a catalyst movement. But EV overall has been doing well, and it's pushing all the other EV stocks up as well. So Blink was up 12% on Friday. Also, one thing I do want to add on that is that the whole market was up on Friday, right? So a lot of stocks did have pretty big days. As you guys can see here, my little watch list, right? Blink up 12%, Etsy up 7.5%, Riot up almost 12%, Playboy, Beyond Meat, etc. All the stocks were relatively green, except for a couple of ones that did pull back. But overall, when looking at the markets, there was a pretty green day. So keep that in mind. But the whole EV industry is pulling up, right? If we go take a look at Plug has been pulling over the last couple of weeks. Any other one, NIO has been pulling up as well. So you guys can do your own research and look at all of the electric vehicle industry. But I do think this is one that is interesting, right? It has been rallying up, so you could still try to capitalize off of a bit of that run up. However, keep in mind that something that does run up that quickly always can pull back, and can pull back just as quickly. So be careful and make sure to lock in some profits along the way. Now, let's get into it and actually look at what my top 3 picks for this week, at least based off of technical analysis. So my first stock that I want to look at is going to be ticker symbol YETI, which is Yeti. is one of the companies that, again, has been very bullish throughout this whole last year. So it does meet all the criteria that we're looking for, right? Has been bullish, has a consistent upwards trend. But what I like here is that it did recently pull back. So right before their earnings, they pulled back. They were starting to pull back, and then on their earnings day, they did drop significantly. One thing I do want to show you guys here, we did see a little bit of a cup and handle formation being formed here. So it did sell off during the late during the late time period of September and into the beginning months of October. It started to pull back up. Here we could see this cup and handle formation, right? If we were to draw it right here, here's the cup form, here's the handle, and then here's the explosive breakup outwards. So that's something to keep in mind, but without even looking at that pattern's already been executed and the price move has been taken into account. But we did pull up, running up into earnings, and then on earnings day we did sell off quite aggressively. So now sitting here at about $98 a share. There's a couple of things that I do want to mention if you are looking to play this. What I'm trying to do is take advantage of this reversal and hope that it comes back up to about $108 a share, if not to a new 52-week high. All right, so if you are going to play this, just keep in mind that it does have a tendency of having a strong resistance level here at about $102 or $103 a share. All right, so if you are to play this, make sure you either lock in some profits at about $102, $103 a share, and you can always get back into it afterwards. All right, if you want to wait for it to break above this 103 and go for a new all-time high, then you can use that as a confirmation of a reversal. All right, so that is one stock that I do want to mention. They also are a little low on volume, right? Average volume is about 1 million shares traded on a daily basis. So it is going to be a bit of a slower moving stock, but I do like the pattern that we are currently seeing. All right, so now the next stock that I'm going to move into is going to be ticker symbol FDX. So I talked about them previously a couple of weeks ago. I believe I talked about them in UPS. This is a stock that I do really like, especially running into this Christmas time period, right? We still have about a month and a half till Christmas. This is one of the companies, as well as a lot of retail companies that are going to do well, like Walmart, Target, Macy's, etc. But FedEx is also one because people are going to be shipping each other a lot of gifts, right? Amazon is still a huge company. Amazon thrives throughout this Christmas time period, right? I'm not sure where you guys are buying some of your Christmas gifts, but I'm definitely ordering on Amazon, and I know that the company that's delivering is going to be all of those FedEx, UPS style delivery services. So I think this is going to do very well leading up into Christmas, and obviously looking based off of this pattern, it did recently sell off, especially with this earnings. It sold off, and we could see quite an aggressive growth, right? Quite an aggressive reversal here. We're currently sitting here at about $254 a share. What do I also like about it is that it just broke this resistance that we had at about $253. So because it broke that resistance, we're also above the EMA line. So the EMA line is this little blue line that's sticking to it, and we also are above this 200-day SMA. So although I do expect this to continue to rally upwards, this can possibly pull back on one of these days. Keep in mind it has had consecutive green days, so there is a very high chance that it does do a little minor pullback, but I do expect it to continue to run up. So I'm not trying to play this to a new all-time high or to a previous 52-week high, right? Because what I'm looking at this is more of a short-term play, but I do expect this to still come up to this next resistance line here that we're looking at based on late February or mid-February. It had a resistance at about $265 a share, and to me that is a good place to lock in some profits. So if we were to draw that line here of this resistance level at about 265, that offers us a return of approximately, there you go, right about 4 to 4.5%. So 4.5%, but I will be playing options on this. You could also play stocks if you want to be a little safer. I personally will be playing options, and a 4% return on a $250 stock is a great return as well. All right, now lastly, the last stock that I want to take a look at is actually going to kind of have to do with what I talked about, the industry I talked about at the beginning, the EV industry. This stock is LRCX, which is Lam Research. So they have a lot to do with the semiconductors, right? We knew that throughout this year, there's been a huge semiconductor shortage. You can look at all those companies like NVIDIA, AMD, etc. They've all been thriving throughout the year. They've been hitting new highs and crushing it. NVIDIA had a stock split and is still hitting new all-time highs afterwards. It's somewhere around $300 a share, or right under $300. It's had an amazing couple of months. Actually, let me just show you those quickly. So here, if you look at NVIDIA, it's pulled up, especially over this last month or so. It's had a huge run from 220 all the way up to 300. If we look at AMD, again, another huge run from the low hundreds all the way up to about 150. We can also look at AMAT, which has had another big run. It broke all of their resistances. However, this last one, LRCX, currently has been pulling up. Don't get me wrong, it has moved quite well from about $550 to about $624. However, it hasn't broken this strong resistance that we see over here, right? We do see a very clear resistance here at about $650 a share. It hasn't broken that, and I do feel like this is a bit of a lagger. So something that is moving a little slower. Obviously, its price is much higher than the other stocks, so it takes a little more capital to buy into it. But I do expect this to continue its rally and come up to this resistance point and possibly break that resistance point, just like we've seen all of those other stocks that I just previously showed to you. So I do expect this to run up and break this, or at least hit that mark and possibly pull back. If it does, well, I will be locking profits in at about $650 a share. If we are to run it up to that level from its current point of about $624 to $650, that offers us approximately 4% return. And again, a 4% return on a $600 stock is huge. So, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. I hope you guys enjoyed my little explanation of everything of my top 3 stocks, my industry choice right now to keep an eye out for, and my little earnings play that I mentioned as well. So if you guys did enjoy that, please like, share, and smash that subscribe button, because it really does help out the channel, helps me grow, and it helps me, encourages me to continue sharing this information with all of you guys. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed your weekend and enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you guys there this week for our trading week. Have a good one, everybody.